All right, we were working on this yesterday, correct?
Yes.
And I think I put, let's see, it's an NPN. Did I write base must be positive, collector must be slightly more positive, and emitter must be negative?
Yes.
I wrote that. P1 is a potentiometer. I think I wrote that. Variable resistor. I wrote it's pilot controlled. Did I get that far?
Yes.
No.
I think that's where you stopped.
All right.
We're at part 5.
I don't go that far.
Pilot controlled.
Pilot controlled. That last thing you wrote?
Yes.
All right. So
Oh, this starts to draw.
Yeah.
I can never remember how to turn this back on.
I missed that right.
There we go. All right, and so let's see. The next I would put is moving baseline. Moving baseline. Baseline toward 3. Toward 3. So that would be moving it down to there. Moving it towards 3. So moving line towards 3 makes the baseline. Makes the baseline. Makes the base line more.
Negative.
Ooh, you guys are just too quick for me. Hopefully that's right. Makes the line more negative. I'll just put it here. Negative. And what's that going to get for me? Let's see. It's more negative.
Less positive base.
Brighter? I think it would be brighter.
So it's going to come down here. So this is the negative side. So more negative. And so it's going to dim the light. But why does it dim it?
Because the base is not as positive.
Because the base is not as positive. I'll buy that. And dims light. Dims light. Moving the baseline towards 1 will do what?
Makes it more positive.
All right, so moving baseline, we'll put this moving base to 1 makes base more positive. I'll just put more positive, and the light gets brighter. And the light gets brighter.
But this is based off of the conventional flow theory.
Well, it is moving towards positive, so it just is. So the
Alright, 'cause I was
theory
thinking
doesn't.
like if it's moving down towards more towards 3, in my mind, like using the electron flow theory, it would actually become brighter. But because it's in conventional flow theory,
Yeah.
it becomes dimmer.
If you want to go, well, explain.
Well, see, like as I'm thinking, it's like because going based off of the electron flow theory, it goes
Okay.
from negative to positive. So as you increase more towards negative, I'm thinking the light would become brighter. But since I'm thinking since it's in conventional flow theory, as you move more towards negative, it's actually making it dimmer.
Well, okay, but we got to think about the emitter, which side that's on. And so the junction that we need
Okay.
is going to be base to emitter, right? Base to emitter junction is the one that turns it on.
Okay.
And the emitter is pretty much full-blown negative.
Yeah.
And so the closer I get to negative and the closer I get to matching this, the more off it is. And it's yeah, I hate to say more off, but it works from my head. More off it is. So the more off it is, the slower the electrons, or the fewer, I should say, electrons are going to pass through to the collector and then to the light. So it gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. Because we've started to match it. We're getting away from a forward bias and just close to a no bias.
Bias.
Yeah, just bias.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
All right, that makes sense. Thank you.
All right. Are you erase that?
No.
Yes.
No?
Sorry. it's
Oh, that's
drawing,
fine.
I'm not that fast.
No, you're good. I got a little room here. R1 and R2. R1, R2. Why are they there? They are called biasing resistors. Called biasing resistors. Biasing resistors. R1 is used to create a voltage drop of the battery positive voltage before it reaches potentiometer. So R1 drops the positive voltage. And R2 is used to lower the negative voltage before reaching the potentiometers. And R2 drops the negative voltage before it gets there. Let me know when you got it.
Good.
You're good. All right. Let's see. I may skip this one because I think if you understand what we're talking about so far, this can kind of make things more confusing. I'll tell you what. All right. So electrons flow from the battery has two paths. From the battery has two paths. Emitter to base. Am I looking at the right one? Yeah. NPN. So two paths. So emitter to base. There we go. Two paths. So we can see the small path right here with the small arrows, and it just kind of flows around. And we have the other path, which is, what did I write exactly? But you can see it's right here. Emitter to base. Emitter to base is a weak control symbol, weak control signal. So I can put that. So two paths. We'll see how this works out. Two paths. One is going to be emitter to base. Emitter to base. It is a weak control signal. Weak control. Weak control signal. About 1% of the current takes this path. 1% of current takes this path. And we have the emitter to collector. Emitter to collector. So that's emitter to collector. So that's going to be the big arrows. To emitter. Emitter to collector. This is the amplified signal. Sorry, I have a note there. I was trying to figure out why I wrote that. Amplified signal. Because we looked at before in the videos, they talked about the transistors actually work as an amplifier. So I was just kind of going with that a little bit. This is the amplified signal. Yeah. So yeah, just using conventional theory, you can see that a small 1% input will result in a large output. As the current to base is lowered, current to base is lowered, so is output from the emitter. Oh, so the current to the base. So if we lower this current, we are going to then get a lower current flow through the emitter to collector. So I don't know if that was helpful or not. I had another apparently video here, but I don't know. I don't have the setup for you. So, all right, what else I got here? Oh yeah, this is one of your Q&A questions, isn't it? Yep. So if and I believe you have two questions. If R2 sticks in the up position, the light will. So if R2 sticks in the up position, I think that's exactly what it says. So that's bringing it up here. R2 sticks in the up position. The light will.
Right.
And why is it bright? What's that? You just memorize the light will. Is it bright? Geez, I could have wrote the answer. Does anybody know the actual answer? Didn't do the Q&As. All right, so we have a, what's that? We have a battery. Let's diagnose it. got the battery,
Yeah.
okay, and we've got the emitter, collector, emitter to base junction. So emitter to base junction. This is a PNP or a NPN.
NPN.
Okay, not pointed in, so NPN. So we've got the negative, negative. This needs a positive. All right, so it needs a positive, and we must have it forward biased to turn on. All right, and so the more we come down here, the more it is going to have higher voltage or lower voltage?
Lower.
Lower. So if we bring it down, down should be dim or bright?
Yeah.
Dim. And up then would be bright. Bright. So if R2 sticks in the up position, R2, so it's going to be
Right.
brighter.
Because it's stuck more towards positive.
Uh-huh. So that's what it wants, positive. So the more positive it is, the more it is going to be forward biased, if you want to go with that route. All right, if an open occurs at R1, so that's open, what happens?
The light won't turn on.
The base
It won't
peg
turn
at
on.
12 volts.
What's that?
The base is peg at 12 volts.
Base pegs at 12 volts. So would we get a little bit of drop right here? Or is the base
You
going
wouldn't
to?
be able to turn the light off.
Yeah, we would not, because you can't bring it down far enough. So the light will always stay on. Can't turn it off.
Yeah.
Does that line up with the answers? And
Yes.
okay, good. I think your other Q&A is this one. Which illustration is correct concerning bias application and current positive charge flow? Sometimes you get to things and you're like, you know what? I think I'm just going to memorize the answer. And I'm using a program, a company who put together a study thing for the instrument test. There's so much in there. We're like, well, just memorize the answer. And I'm like, how about we just learn it? I mean, it's not that hard to learn it, is it? So which illustration is correct concerning bias application and current positive charge flow? That's right out of the Q&A. So let's diagnose it. So this one is
Not pointed in.
NPN. This one is NPN. This one is PNP. Not even sure where I'm going with this. Just kind of diagnosing them. So, well, I don't remember. I think I remember something. And P. So the base has to be positive. It is. This one, the base has to be positive. It's not. So we're done with that one. And PNP, negative. So it is. So far we're doing pretty good. So all right, we've already eliminated. We got 50-50 shot now. So this should be negative, negative, positive, 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 negative. All right. So this has to be forward biased in order for it to work, which means that the base should be negative and the emitter should be, so that should be, did I say it right? The base should be negative and the emitter should be
Positive.
And is it?
No.
No. The base should be positive and the emitter should be negative.
Yes.
All right, so hopefully I did it right and that's the correct answer. Okay, good. Yes.
The top one, it says that the current is flowing from the collector to the emitter.
I don't even worry about that.
Okay.
I just kind of, well, it does say positive charge, which I think is their way of saying, conventional theory, which would be from positive to negative.
Number one was also the only one where that current flow matched the arrow and
Well, this matches positive to negative.
the the pointed in doesn't match that.
Got the arrow on it.
Oh, the arrow in the
The
transistor.
arrow and
Yeah.
the transistor matches those words.
Yeah, the bottom one's PNP, but it's coming from the emitter to.
But that's how a PMP would look. The arrow pointing in.
That's why that's the reason I picked number one.
Oh.
because the current flow lines up with that
But
arrow.
it's opposite of the current flow arrow.
Yeah.
It's opposite the current flow error. What are you saying?
You see that
So
current
the
flow
current
is
flow
going
at
from
number one
collector to the
Has a
emitter.
little arrow, it goes up.
Yeah.
So does the base arrow. The
interface to emitter, it goes up as well. That's what he's saying.
Oh, both of them are both the arrows are heading in the right same direction.
They're going in the same direction.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, okay, that's all, that one and that one are both headed towards the same. They're headed over here, so that must be the right one.
It worked.
All right, well, it works for you.
Technically,
I'll let you know when it doesn't.
Yeah. It's only stupid if it doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
No, I guess that was the end, so everybody can go home. Okay. All right, so that means I'm done talking about transistors. So, hey, congratulations if you understood that. Woo, you did fantastic. If you didn't, probably on me. All right, let's talk about logic gates.
Yeah, I'm done.
Now that you're done, then it should be easy.
Couple days.
We get through real quick. And the nice thing is about where we're going with logic gates as far as the FA tests go, it's very simplistic. They're not actually drawn the way they really are, and you can get ones and zeros where nothing appears. And so, in other words, we're going to look at something. If you have a line coming in and it's off, has a 0, and you're going to go through a little box and suddenly you have a 1. Well, where'd you get power from? If you had no power coming in, suddenly you got power going out, well, yeah, that's the way it works. So it doesn't really work that way in real life, but it wouldn't make sense. If it did, well, then we would just get a huge one of those things, turn it off, and get all the power you wanted. So logic gates, they are functions performed by computers. Or circuit boards. Based on Boolean logic, but you can actually use this in search functions with Google. So based on Boolean logic, boo. I don't know where that comes from. Boolean logic of and or not. There are 7 commonly used logic gates. And I like to use the truth table when I am looking at these. So we can draw a truth table. With any luck, I can just use the same table. So input. Input, output, A, B, C. All right, so let's start with an and. And looks like that.
Correct.
All right, I'm off to oops. Guess we got 2 things right there. And we'll make this one up here. Top be A. This is B. That is C. So an and. If the input on A is a 0 and the input on B is a 0, the output will be 0. If the input on A is 1 and the output is 0, the output will be, sorry, A was 1, B is 0. If we have a 0 and a 1, we will have 0. 1 and a 1 is, so the only time you will get an output is if both inputs. So if you have power into A and you have power into B, you get power out of C, which is another saying if you have a 1 and a 1, you get a 1 out. I kind of got rid of some older notes. It was becoming obnoxious. I have them here. I actually I was able to draw analog versions of like a lot of these, and then I was like, it's just getting to be too much. and it might even be confusing, but if you drew an analog, because, you know, before we had these things, that's exactly how you do it in aircraft. If you wanted a light to come on with an and, you would have to just use regular switches, right? And so if you think about what would that look like, you'd have a switch, and you have another switch, and when both of them are closed, you want some sort of light to come on. Well, they would just be in series. So if one closes and two closes, then the light would come on. So it's kind of like saying a 1 and a 1 is a 1. If either one of them didn't close, then the light would not come on. So that's more of an analog way of doing it. But I can't think of the analog for all of them, so it would be very difficult. All right, so we have the and. What do we got next?
And
One do NAND. Let's see. I have OR. The OR. So the OR looks like an AND, but kind of doesn't. There we go. Hey, that wasn't bad. So there's an OR. The OR, the OR. So we have a 1, A, B, C. So OR is any input of 1 will produce a 1. So if we have A is 0 and B is 0, then the out is 0. Well, if A is 0 and B is 1, it is 1. If this is a 1 and that's a 0, it's 1, and 1 and 1 equals 2. 1. All right. The invert or not. The invert. Invert or not. There we go. Invert or not. Invert or not. Make sure I got it. So I shouldn't have done that one next because I got to erase stuff. I should have just left it. Invert or not. All right, I like this one the best because, you know, it's easy to draw. Yeah. Oh, it's got, well, that should be an open actually, not a closed circle, but forgive me on that one. There we go. That was easy. There we go. All right. Invert or not, which is reverses the condition. Just reverses the condition. So if the A, this will be A, and this will be C out. So if A is a 1, then the out is a 0, and if the A is a 0, 1. Okay, and that's like one of the ones I'm talking about. So if you had a 1 right here, or 0, how in the hell are you going to get a 1? I mean, it's just, you know, it magically produces a signal. Nah, it's got to have a different input. But we don't have to get into that, which makes life a lot easier. Invert or not, we got that one. The NOR. NOR, or I like to call it inverted OR. Inverted OR. So, should have done this one second because, you know, it was already drawn in there. Well, not bad. All right. All right, inverted, let me see, NOR, inverted OR, any input of 1 will create a 0 output. output. All right, so if we have a 0 and a 0, we get a 1. If we have a 0 and a 1, we get 0. 1 and a 0, we get 0, and 1 and a 1, we get 0. All right. Good. How about, what haven't I done yet? NAND. All right, NAND. Or an and, or an inverted and. Inverted and. Any input of 0. Any input of 0 will create output of 1. And the NAND, it's not terribly difficult.
Is it both inputs are 0?
Was that?
If both inputs are 0?
Any input of 0 will create an output of 1. Any input of 0. So if we have 0 and 0, we get 1. A 1 and a 0, we get, what's that? Oh, any input of 0 will create an output of 1.
That is correct.
1.
So 1 and a 0, any input of 0 is a
1.
1. So 0 and a 1 is
1.
1, and a 1 and a 1 is a
0.
0. Am I good to erase? All right. Is that what's left? Exclusive OR. Designed to produce a 1. Produce a 1 whenever input is dissimilar. And that is what an exclusive OR. Ooh, ENOR. So whoosh, there we go. ENOR. Oops, did I do the wrong one? I went EOR. EOR. There we go. EOR. Thanks for noticing. All right. 0 and a 0 produce a 1 whenever input is dissimilar. So that would be 0. A 1 and a 0, dissimilar. 1. 1 and a, 0 and a 1. 1. A 1 and a 1. 0. Well, that translates or transitions nicely to the next one, which would be exclusive NOR. There we go. I'm just like saving time right here. I'm seeing world. Exclusive produces an output pattern exactly opposite produces an output exactly opposite exactly opposite of the EOR. All right, so got the NOR. All right, exactly opposite. So before we said dissimilar. Whenever they're dissimilar, you got a 1. Thank you. So A is, well, A and B. 0, 0 is 1 because they're similar. 0 and a 1 is different, so no power. A 1 and a 0 is different, so 0. And a 1 and a 1 is the same, so 1. And that's all of them.
Isn't that basically a two-way?
What's that?
But is it kind of like almost exactly like an angle, right? When you have two that are 0 input, but you still get an output. That's the only difference between that and the angle, right?
I didn't quite hear all that.
So the exclusive NOR
Yeah?
and the AND gate. The only thing
The
that's
AND,
different
okay.
about it is that the exclusive NOR has 0 inputs and you get an output.
Yes.
That's the only thing that's different about it.
Yes, that is correct. So I'm looking at the and, just to make sure I'm not lying to you. 0 and a 0 is a 0. 0 and a 1 is a 0. A 1 and a 0 is 0. And 1 and 1 is 1. Yeah, you're right about that. It's the only difference is that 0 and 0. Yeah, good job. You're right. Don't be so shocked.
It's just, I'm going to take this victory on
Dude's a
my
freaking-
now. I'm in it.
Write it in your journal.
Yeah.
Your diary.
Kevin said I was right.
I'm adequate now.
Die a
I've
happy
achieved
man.
everything that I could possibly.
Oh, here's my
imagine.
page with all the analogs. I left it in here. But I don't have to do the analogs. And I only made analogs so far as like the invert, and that was all I could do. And then it started to get crazy. So